With the second episode of True Detective Night Country being released just yesterday, you know what that means, don't you? A trailer for the third episode followed shortly afterwards. Now, I'm working on a video on the biggest hidden clues that we've had so far in the case, but in between that, I thought I'd do a breakdown on the trailer and share my theories and predictions on what I think will happen next. So let's get into it. Here is True Detective Season 4 Episode 3 Trailer Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. So the trailer opened up with it looking like the police were going to be going on a manhunt and searching on the ice for Raymond Clark. Hank was leading the search and spoke the line, "The suspect we're looking for is Raymond Clark. Consider him armed and dangerous." Following the revelations in the previous episode, such as the fact that Clark was the only scientist that wasn't found frozen in the corpsicle, he had Annie's phone, something which wasn't found at the crime scene of her murder. He had the symbol tattooed on his chest, it was on his ceiling, there was ominous words written on his wall and in his work, and he had a shrine dedicated to Annie where there was the shape of a body laid out in his trailer. He's definitely become the main suspect for not only the case of the scientists being killed, but also the murder of Annie Kay, which was never solved many years ago. Whilst Hank was saying all of this, it was intercut with a selection of shots. But the one that stood out to me was the one of Evangeline being stood there looking in a way that was filled with rage and anger. The case of Annie is something that she got herself personally invested in and wrapped up in. So much so that even the brother of Annie just wanted to lay the case to rest now, and for it to be dropped due to the amount of trauma and bad memories that it was bringing up. But Evangeline has never given up in looking for the right answers. And the look that she had on her face was one that looked like she was determined, and that if she found Clark, she'd make sure he paid for what he did. The next shot that we had was one that was of great importance, and something that I think is going to be telling of the direction of the show. There was a little boy walking out on the ice, and Evangeline saw him. This little boy appeared to be holding the polar bear teddy, the same one which Liz got out of a box which looked like it was full of memories in the previous episode. And judging by the image that we had of the child again later on in this trailer, I think this is going to be the child that Liz was mourning in the previous episode. This could potentially be a child of Leah's dad's that ended up dying, or it could be a child that they had together which ended up dying. I think this child is a main focus to the flashback that Liz has been having, and their death will most likely also be tied to the death of Leah's father. With Evangeline seeing the young child out on the open ice and shouting at him before proceeding to then run after him, I think this could be connected to what Rose said in episode 2. She mentioned how you shouldn't confuse mental illness with the dead, and I think Evangeline seeing the young boy is going to show us that she has the ability to see the dead, something which Rose said many people other than her do have. However, with Evangeline's past trauma of her mother having some kind of mental illness, and it looking like she was neglected by her as a child, I think Evangeline is going to be getting the two confused and end up going down a dark pathway as she starts to slowly lose her mind, and it will be her sister who ends up needing to be there for her, rather than the other way round. In the trailer that was released last week, which was called the Weeks Ahead trailer, Liz said to Evangeline that she knew that she saw something when she was out on the ice and she wanted to know what it was. However, Evangeline refused to tell her. Plus, she also said it at the end of this trailer. Liz said, "What happened that night when you were out on the ice? Who came for you?" Like I said, I think this is because Evangeline knows that the dead person that was coming back to her is somebody that Liz once cared about and was hurt by their death. Or she might not know that connection, and she could just be fearful of the fact that she may be judged if she reveals what she thought she saw. So it feels like Liz's flashback is going to be something which will tie into Evangeline's reality. The next part of the trailer was then set inside of the evidence room, and Liz said the line, "Clark and Annie Kay. Nobody knew they were together." This was met with a response from Evangeline where she said, "Why keep it a secret?" It looked as though the evidence that they had in front of them was from his trailer that they searched in episode 2. That's because there were boxes upon boxes which had the initials R. Clark on them. Plus it also had photos of Annie and Clark together, something which we've only seen on the walls of the trailer. After this, we saw Liz looking at a photo of Annie where the ink that was on her face was smudged. It looked like it was filed as an incident report. We know that she was protesting against the mining that was taking place, and in the Weeks Ahead trailer, we also saw that Leah mirrored the same smudging that was on her face. So I wonder if this incident report and photo was taken from some kind of protest against the mining that she was fighting against, as it looks like Leah is set to go to one of those protests herself. The next line that was spoken in the trailer was spoken by Evangeline, where she said, "Do you ever get this feeling like you just want to disappear?" And she was saying this to Liz whilst they were in the car together. Amongst the clips underneath the dialogue, we had a clip of Evangeline looking at a shed that was in the middle of the ice. I'm presuming this is where the child that she saw wanted to lead her to. Rose said in episode 2 that the dead want one of 3 things: to visit you, to tell you something, or to take you with them. And it seems like the child wanted to tell Evangeline something, and whatever it is, it lies inside the 4 walls of that shed. Maybe that's where Clark is going to be located and hiding out. This was then followed by the clip of the young boy holding the white polar bear teddy, and then by Liz laying in bed and thinking, maybe about the death of the 2 people that she cared about. This was then followed by a shot of Evangeline laying on the ice, and judging by the previous trailer, it looks like she slips over when she's going after the young child. After this, there was a shot of Liz on the ice rink with the bodies where she was told that this wasn't how you died in the cold. I'm presuming that this is the person that will most likely be analysing them and finding the actual cause of death. So it seems like maybe the scientists could have been killed before they were put out there on the ice, adding another layer of complexity into the mix. Then we entered the final part of the trailer where there was a quick succession of shots. There was one of Leah looking like she was around people that were closely linked to her heritage. We saw in the previous episode that she wanted to learn more about her heritage and culture. And with her in a room surrounded by people that are just like herself, I feel like that's an avenue that's going to be getting explored even more, despite Liz being somewhat against it. There was also a shot of Pete standing in a hospital waiting room and Liz running through the hospital, so one can only assume that it's either going to be Leah or Evangeline that's in there. I kind of think that it might be Evangeline, maybe from when she fell over on the ice and hit her head. This would be something which ties into the dialogue that Liz was speaking about when she asked who was out there on the ice. Or come to think about it, it could actually be Hank, considering he was out on the ice on that night and Pete standing there looking quite worried. There was also a shot of what looked like Evangeline getting threatened by somebody with a weapon. This looks like it could be one of the people from the village that Liz and Evangeline were heading towards, as they were seen standing outside together before, with the closing line of the trailer being, "Who came for you?" I think the fact that Evangeline could be seeing Liz's son is something which makes this season a lot more complicated for the pair's relationship, and it's going to be interesting to see the trauma being navigated, and if Liz will even believe her. Then the trailer finished. It definitely looks like episode 3 is going to follow on in a way which continues the haunting, chilling, gripping, and complex case that we've come to see, so I can't wait to see what happens. So, there you have it. True Detective Season 4 Episode 3 Trailer Explained. If you want to see more videos on True Detective, then just click on the card in the top corner, or alternatively you can head over to my channel where you'll find them all. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate the latest movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. What do you think will happen in Episode 3? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.